The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Looking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
On the ones and twos inside the studio. We've got to lead with this, though. Yesterday, I was on the third floor at Guarantee. I was in the production room, and I hear yelling and screaming from in the studio. Then I hear the table pounding in the studio, and I'm going, what kind of bit is Matt doing? And then I got a text message. And then I looked at my phone, and I went, oh, he's throwing a party in there, because Nick Saban is leaving Tuscaloosa. It's a day we knew would eventually come. Despite what you say, you did know eventually that was going to come. And the rumors picked up this year, and in fact, yesterday, Chris Lowe breaks the news that Nick Saban is out in Tuscaloosa. And I have kind of two reactions here. One is big picture, and the other is right now. Big picture, the greatest coach in the history of college football is done. And that's a huge story. In a sport that I routinely tell you irritates me a little bit because there is no margin for error, he didn't need any margin for error. He just marched right through schedule after schedule after schedule in the toughest division in the history of the sport and churned out championships. And it was miserable to watch in Baton Rouge. Every November, watching that team come out of the tunnel or your team have to go to Tuscaloosa, it was brutal, and I'll get to that in a second, but the appreciation for the effort that was made has to lead here. But the other piece of this is that the landscape in the Southeastern Conference changed yesterday, whether or not they want to admit it in Tuscaloosa or not. And everyone feels that. Everyone feels it. I certainly felt it. Matt felt it. You heard it on the show. My dad texted me and said it was a miracle. I got 2 exclamation points out of him. I never get 2 exclamation points out of him. Said it was a miracle. I got a text from another buddy up in Shreveport. He works with his dad. They work for the same company. They were drinking scotch in their office at 4:15 on a Wednesday. This is a big deal. And I'm certain those aren't the only 2 instances of people around here celebrating basically being free. If you saw my Twitter, and if you've been listening to me for 10 years, you know I'm a huge movie guy, huge movie buff, know all the movies, seen all the movies. But I put the Shawshank gif up there. When he clears into the rain, said it took 17 years to dig through the tunnel, but we made it. And I really feel that way. That's how it feels here in Baton Rouge. He was at Bama 17 years. LSU beat him 5 times. They beat him in 07, beat him in 10, beat him in 11, beat him in 19, and beat him in 22. 5 wins. 4 of those 5, LSU went on to win the SEC West. Of course, the one time that didn't happen was 2010. But 4 out of the 5 times you beat Alabama, you got to Atlanta. And that's mission number 1 in Baton Rouge. You lost to him in 08, 09, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 21. That's 11 times you lost. Guess how many times you went to Atlanta in those years? None. You can try to tell me that this game is just another game and you make too big a deal out of the Alabama game. That's the proof. You win the game 80% of the time, you accomplish goal number 1, you get to Atlanta. You lose the game 0% of the time, you get to Atlanta. And the fact of the matter is that this program is very likely to dip. Now, whether it dips 1 peg, 2 pegs, or 8 pegs remains to be seen. And trying to draw comparisons to Nick Saban leaving Alabama is honestly not that difficult, because all you can do is go to the greatest coaches in the history of collegiate athletics, because that's the only comparison that works. So I started to go through those in my head and scribble out some notes, and sometimes the legend, the icon, moves on, and the program sustains itself with the next guy. Bobby Bowden, unbelievable run at Florida State, and Jimbo Fisher took over and took them to a national championship. Now, it fell apart on Jimbo at the end, I admit that, but the next guy did do a good job and got him to a national championship and won it. Got him to a playoff the next year as well. Urban Meyer left Ohio State, and Ryan Day has been pretty good. They usually go 11-0 into the Thanksgiving weekend. It's not like they've fallen off a cliff, but, again, they've lost to Michigan 3 years in a row, so there is a little bit of dip. But Ryan Day's not running into the ground at this point. Miami back in the 80s, Howard Schnellenberger got him to new heights, and they handed it off to Jimmy Johnson, and he did exceptionally well. And then they hired Dennis Erickson, and he won a national championship. And you could suggest it fell off after that. But they stacked a couple of coaches together that kept an elite-level program together. Les Miles took the baton here in Baton Rouge and did a good job. LSU was absolutely relevant. They won a national championship under Les after Nick left, and they rebuilt the thing and had another great team in 11. It took a long time for that one to fall off, but that worked. Roy Williams left Kansas, and Bill Self picked up the baton, and he made it better. It can be done. It does happen, but let me throw some other examples of high-profile, elite-level programs with iconic coaches, and then you see what happened next. Steve Spurrier left Florida. Here comes Ron Zook. Urban Meyer leaves Florida. Here comes Will Muschamp. Bob Knight left Indiana. Mike Davis took over. They've never recovered in Bloomington. Mac Brown had a pretty damn good run in Austin. Charlie Strong took over. Dean Smith, all-time great, North Carolina. He leaves. They hand it to the next guy on the bench, Bill Guthridge. That did not go so well. They hired Matt Doherty. That was a disaster. North Carolina basketball had the guy. It falls off. Pete Carroll leaves USC after a run. I thought they'd never lose again when I was in high school and college. Lane Kiffin and Clay Helton were the next 2 up. They're still trying to recapture that. It wasn't a Nick Saban-esque run, but Phil Fulmer was unbelievable in Knoxville. At the top of the sport, trying to get over the hump against Spurrier, who was crushing everybody. But Fulmer got Peyton Manning, and they were great, and they were a top 5 team, and they finally won it with T. Martin, and then he had a great run there, and it ended. Lane Kiffin, Derek Dooley, Butch Jones, like, you know the story. I'm not here predicting the absolute demise of Alabama football. They're going to sink their resources into a coach that probably looks like a great hire on paper. Doesn't sound like it's going to be Dan Lanning. I don't know if it's Dabo Swinney, which is incredible on paper. I don't know who they're going to hire. But the very likelihood is that this program takes a step back and is good. Oklahoma's good. LSU's good. Clemson's good right now. Oregon's good. They're not going to be the death machine they were for a decade and a half with the next guy. I'm confident in saying that. If I'm wrong, I'll stand up here and I'll probably start crying and I'll say I'm wrong. But that's the way I feel about this. I felt this way for 10 years, knowing I know what Alabama has become. I know what this looks like. They never lose 2 games in any season ever. They're in the playoff every year. They're winning a national championship every other year. This will end at some point, and the next guy is not going to be able to live up to this, and now we're there. I went through all those national examples, sparing sports and all that, and didn't even go to the one that was right down the road from where I am right now. Skip Bertman turned over the keys to Smoke Laval. And they got to Omaha twice, but it fell off a cliff. I'd be shocked if Alabama football has what happened to LSU post-national championship. If that happens, I'll be beyond shocked. I'm just telling you, I think they become another good program. Because to suggest anything else would be completely disrespectful to what Nick Saban did in Tuscaloosa. That was unbelievable. And I was having this discussion with somebody yesterday, and they said, well, Kirby Smart's there. Wait a second. He won 2 and then didn't get into the playoff this year, and that schedule wasn't exactly murderer's row. Kirby may win 6. He'd have to get 4 more, and he's young, and maybe he will. I'm betting against it. There was a time where you thought Clemson was invincible too. Running through the ACC, beating Alabama a couple times, played Joe Burrow and that crew to a competitive game for 2.5 quarters. How they doing? In this era of transfer portal, NIL, I mean, the whole world is flipped upside down. Sustaining what Nick Saban just did is going to be next to impossible. Now, unfortunately for us in Baton Rouge, the rules just changed, and you're not in a division with Alabama anymore. Because that was really the thing. That's the lead off of my segment there. I'm going, well, you had to beat them to get to Atlanta. Now, you may play them, you may not, and you're certainly not in the same division as them. It's just one big conference. But yesterday was a monumental day in the sport of college football, and it felt that way to those of us who follow it very, very closely. We'll talk a little bit more about it with Ryan Fowler coming up in 15 minutes. Ryan does Afternoon Drive there in Tuscaloosa, and we'll get a sense on what the shockwaves were like at Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa and what's next for the Crimson Tide. That's all coming up in 15 minutes. When we come back, we'll chat with Luke Johnson about the New Orleans Saints. That's next on the Hunt Palmer
Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 Black Widow trucks, $20,000 off new Ram 1500 trucks, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Hey, look what I found!
The motivation I needed to live healthier. My new favorite sport.
I found my groove.
I found I'm part fish.
My second win when I needed it most.
I found more than a gym.
The affordable childcare this mom needed.
Time for myself.
We found our why.
Have you found yours?
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 Black Widow trucks, $20,000 off new Ram 1500 trucks, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Join us for the Friday edition of Live at Lunch from Ruffino's on Highland Road. Bruce Marshall will be with us, Troy Macker from Bet Rivers, and we get you set for the weekend. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Friday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Speaking of Rouse's Supermarkets, we are here at the grand opening of the new North Baton Rouge location, 5909 Florida Boulevard. This place is fantastic. We got a full-service butcher shop here with dry-aged beef locker. Got USDA choice Angus beef on site, Cajun specialty meats, boudin, fresh sausage, all made here on site. Come on by this new Rouse's location on Florida Boulevard. Rouse's, of course, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. And to talk New Orleans Saints, we always bring in our guy Luke Johnson from The Advocate. Do so today. Luke, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, man. I'm getting my life together after spending the last 4 months of banging my head against walls.
Yeah, there's a lot of heads banging into walls all fall down here watching New Orleans Saints. The dust has settled on the season, and there's been some bombs dropped all across the NFL. Certainly Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick over the last 24 hours, all quiet in New Orleans. Does that surprise you?
No, I think there was a stage in the season where I thought it could potentially happen if things turned a certain way, and then they won 4 out of 5 to close the season. They were right there in the playoff mix. I think a lot of people would argue that that's not good enough considering what the preseason expectations were, what they committed to the roster, what their schedule was like. I get it, I understand all that, but the Saints are, as an organization, one that is very resistant to change, and it wasn't about Canon's head coach after he just got done with a winning season and all that. So I think the finish was enough for me to where I just knew it wasn't going to happen.
Interesting phrasing from you there, resist to change as opposed to like committed to continuity. Do you think it's a negative that this organization is resistant to change?
I don't think I can say it in terms of black and white like that. I think there are there are definitely some aspects of it that are negative. Yeah, they're set in their ways on things. They're not very dynamic as an organization because of that. They have had essentially the same decision makers in place for really like 7 straight years, and for the most part for the last like 20 years. There are negatives that come with that, but I also think that this is a day and age, especially when you're talking about some of these new owners that come in, guys that are essentially like hedge fund guys, or tech people who come in and they try to implement the that world of business onto an NFL franchise, and often it just explodes spectacularly in their face. I think there's something to be said for stability in a professional sports organization. That there's a good part of that. It's just you can't let the bad parts outweigh the good parts, and you gotta be able to identify when that happens and weed those parts out and bring in new ideas.
So let's start talking about some decisions that'll be made, and we'll get that in a second. But I do want to go to Derek Carr first. Uneven play early, very banged up early, pretty good late. What should Saints fans and the organization feel about their quarterback for the next year plus?
Well, I'm not going to get into what Saints fans should feel because, like, if you just base it off of Twitter, they're never ever going to feel good about him ever. Like I tweeted, his stats for the last 4 games when he was awesome. He had like 125 passer rating, 75% completion percentage, 12-to-1 touchdown ratio, and everybody's like, "Get this man out of here." I'm just like, okay, sorry for saying your $40 million quarterback did play well.
Yeah.
So look, I think they're in a decent spot with him right now. I think they saw, okay, like you figure out the play calling, they added a lot more play action. You figure out the protection stuff. They gave up far fewer sacks. Like I think in the last 11 games of the season, they gave up fewer sacks than they did the first 6 games. You figure out the connection with the young wideouts that took some time to build. I think you saw what it could be. You saw he's capable of being a very good quarterback in the NFL, like a top 12 quarterback, which I think is good enough to get you where you want to go if you get the rest of your roster figured out. But like they can't let the things that lingered for the first 10 weeks of the season, they can't let that stuff linger as long as it did this year. When stuff starts breaking down, they have to. We're talking about a team that's resistant to change. They have to change things faster. Yeah, they can't go 10 weeks of the season where they're one of the worst teams in the red zone by far, and then be like, oh, here's our fix, and it's like a magical switch is flipped. Like they've got to. I think they got to be quicker in assessing how to help him out, because when it's there, it's good enough. But they've got to get him there.
If you had to bet your first nickel on which player is more likely to be on the roster for Week 1 next year, would it be Ryan Ramczyk or would it be Marshawn Lattimore?
It would. Oh God. Look, I mean, I'm gonna say probably Lattimore. I'd just say like Ramczyk is gonna be here if he's playing football.
Right.
Right. Like there's no doubt in my mind about that. But I think there's a significant doubt about whether he's playing football next year or ever again. This is a knee injury that has bothered him for years. Like it's not just something that cropped up this year. He was on a load management plan in August because of this. And just kind of progressively got worse to the point where he couldn't play on it anymore. And you hear athletes talk about this all the time. When you get to a point where you can't be your competitive self, like it's hard to keep playing. You start worrying about what your body's going to be like after you retire. So I wouldn't be surprised if he at some point in the next couple months decides to hang it up. I'm not anticipating Marshawn Lattimore going anywhere next year. But the Saints did leave themselves like an exit if they want to explore that route. And I'm certain that if they decided to put Marshawn Lattimore on the market, there would be interest. I just don't know if the compensation would meet what the Saints threshold is to get rid of a player of his caliber. Because he's still very good, but there's issues. I mean, he's played, I think, 17 games the last 2 seasons. And when he's on the field, he plays at a really high level. But when he's not, and you're paying $20 million to a guy who's played half the games the last 2 years.
And his backups have been pretty good, and that's, I think, something the Saints need to look into. Last year, we understand that there was a huge focus outside of quarterback at retooling the defensive front. The jury's still out on how good those resources that they dipped into it were spent. But what's job one this year?
I mean, I think it's offensive and defensive front again. I mean, they've got to fix those areas. Trevor Penning was just a massive letdown this year. You tell me you're going into week 1. If you would have told me that Andres Pete would have been their stalwart left tackle, I would have been like, you are high. I think they probably got to invest a high draft pick, first or second rounder, in a tackle prospect. They got to think about the idea of moving Penning to guard. They might have to draft 2 tackles.
Yeah.
Ryan Ramczyk. It's huge. It's a huge area of concern. I think there's a good chance they have a new coach in there, coaching the offensive line, because it was just a massive disappointment this year, whether you're talking about pass protection or creating lanes for the rushing attack. They got to get better there. And then they got to get better on the defensive line too. Yeah, I know they signed the 2 tackles last year. They used a first rounder on Brian Brzee. They signed Carl Granderson to an extension. They put resources into it, but it wasn't enough. Their pass rush took a significant step back, and it had already taken a step back the year before as well. So they got to figure out something there, and it's not just the pass rush. We're talking about both sides not really controlling the line of scrimmage this year. They were terrible against the run. They can't go into next season just hoping those guys are going to get better there.
Luke, get your life together. We'll talk soon, man. Thanks for the time.
Sounds good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Luke Johnson, by Luke Johnson on Twitter, Saints beat reporter for The Advocate. We're here at Rouse's 5909 Florida Boulevard. Come on by, get you a hot plate, get you all your groceries coming up for the weekend. It is a gorgeous new facility here in North Baton Rouge, and we are fired up to be here. We'll take a time out. When we come back, we'll go to Tuscaloosa. Ryan Fowler, afternoon drive there in T-Town, talking Saban on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. Look, go to the website, OneBathAndClosets.com. David Duvall and his team have been in the game for 30 years, redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. If you love the house that you're in, love the interest rate and the mortgage that you're paying, but feel like you could use a little bit of an upgrade bathroom and closet-wise, this is your one-stop shop, One Bath and Closet. You don't have to call 4 different contractors to deal with the bathroom renovation or remodel. You can call one. David Duvall and his team at One Bath and Closet starts with a consultation. They put together a customized plan for you, and financing options are available to get it paid for. And I can promise you this, they're not going to cut corners, get the job done as quickly as possible, take your money, and run to the next job. One Bath and Closets is going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. Again, you can check out pictures of their great work, look at the testimonials of their satisfied customers, and then request that free consultation at OneBathAndClosets.com. OneBathAndClosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency.
This weekend for wall-to-wall football as we have all 6 playoff games. We start off Saturday afternoon with Browns-Texans, then all day Sunday before wrapping things up Monday night with Eagles-Buccaneers. Catch all of those games right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Here at Rouse's, 5909 Florida Boulevard. Come on by if you're in the neighborhood. Just had a couple listeners come by and tap me on the shoulder. Always appreciate y'all for stopping on by. Come on in by Rouse's. Get a hot plate. Get your groceries for the weekend. It is a gorgeous new location here on Florida Boulevard. Let's hit the Jim's Firearms Hotline. We'll head to Tuscaloosa. That's where we'll find Ryan Fowler, host of the game with Ryan Fowler, 100.9 afternoons in Tuscaloosa. Ryan, thanks for the time. I would ask you how you are, but I got a feeling things are a little crazy in Tuscaloosa right now.
Yeah, and I'm going to go ahead and apologize. I'm coming to a Chick-fil-A line right here. You want me to ask them who they think it's – yeah. You want me to ask them who they think that could be the next coach at Alabama?
That'd be perfect. Did anybody leave some Chick-fil-A next to the statue yesterday? I know there were oatmeal cream pies and Cokes. There were all kinds of things being left at Saban's feet yesterday.
Well, yeah, and I mean – guys, I was on the air yesterday.
I was going to ask. That's the question. What was your reaction, and how did you find out?
Well, I stopped midway because it was about 4:02, 4:03, and I brought John McClain on. I'd got my second question out of the way. We were going to try to honor D'Amico Ryans, which is an Alabama alum that went out to Houston and won the AFC South in his first year. And we were just there to honor D'Amico Ryans, right, just to be able – and I literally stopped him as – we all do in this radio. And, I always say this, those people that live in their mom's basement that – create these fake Twitter accounts who make our job living HELL. Okay, I hope you slide down a slide of razor blades in a pool of alcohol. Okay, I mean that's just kind of, because they create all these fake accounts, and we always we're trying to deliver the correct information, but at this point you're almost thinking, is it a fake account, right? And so then you want to go and just make sure that Chris Lowe's account is not hacked. So I stopped John McClain. I said, John. I'm hesitant to report this news, but I'm going to double check it. I stopped for just a couple of seconds just to get my bearing. I mean, literally like 3 seconds, which the radio silence is complete. Yep. Feels like 2 minutes. And I went and I said, John, Nick Saban has announced via Chris Lowe that he is retiring from the University of Alabama. And he goes, well, then you've got a lot of things to talk about. I'll let you go. I mean, John McClain is the ultimate veteran, right? 45 years in the business. And he knew what it was like, and he said that's the greatest coach to ever walk the sidelines. He's retiring. And so we reacted to that. We started, I went 6 hours of radio and really no breaks, very little breaks. We went 6 hours. I played a quick audio clip to go to the bathroom one time. But other than that, we literally just got, the legends on, A.J. McCarron and Barrett Jones and different media people to kind of share those. But really, it was about our callers. I mean, we serve that audience, and they wanted to talk. And I said, I'm not going home until, till we're 8 o'clock. And really, I could have probably went 3 more hours.
Yeah.
I mean, the phone lines were completely jammed up when I went off the air. And, it's almost, we're not at the 24-hour point, but I'm still kind of in shock, to be honest with you, because I know a lot of people in our business will pretend like they knew that it was coming. I call their bluff. I really don't. Listen, I'm as plugged in as anybody here in Tuscaloosa, or at least I feel that way. There was rumblings, but guys, there's been rumblings every year. I mean, how many times have I done a radio interview where they said, is Nick Saban retiring? Is this it? We've chased so many of those rumors over the years. I mean, almost like from the minute he got started here, we were at what point does he leave Alabama and go to Texas? Where does he go? Where does he go? And, for 17 years, probably about 14 of those, we chased rumors of when Nick Saban was leaving. And yesterday was one of those that came true. And I'm sure so many people are going to tell you they got it right. But at the end of the day, it was almost like they were playing the probability at some point it would happen. And at 72, it becomes the odds-on favorite that it's going to be sooner rather than later. And yesterday was the day.
I'll ask you an unanswerable question, but when do you think he knew?
I was told that the final decision came in at 3 o'clock hour. He met with his team at 3:30.
Wow.
So I was told that this was not a decision that was made several days ago. I've been able to chase a lot because, the immediate stuff became about, is it health? What's making him retire? Guys, I think what this does, it helps identify someone who is as organized as Nick Saban. This college football world that we live in is chaotic. We've never seen this happen right now. We have a free agency pay for play currently in college football. And people that celebrate recruiting, it's like you signed a 5-star guy. Okay, well, you paid to get a 5-star guy. Anywhere he's going, he's going to get some cash. But it's not even really a 1-year contract, right? And to be honest with you, if I was an athlete, if I had the talent, I'd hit that transfer portal as many times as they'd let me.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting paid every time I hit it. That's the chaotic part that we don't understand, whether it's Brian Kelly. We have so much respect for Coach Pete Jenkins. We love the man here in Tuscaloosa because we know what he means to Coach Saban. We had Coach Pete Jenkins on last night. He cried on the air.
Yeah.
And talked about that we are allowing people to destroy the game that many of us, including yourself and many people in this audience that's listening to you, we love college football, and that's what separates it. But we're allowing this to create a big divide. And I know that the rest of the college football world is celebrating because they could never beat him, on the field, or very limited times they could beat him on the field. This probably is not a day of celebration. This is a day that's a wake-up call because you had one of the greatest CEOs, the greatest organizers, and I'm not saying it was the number one factor, but it had to play a role in moving Nick Saban to that retirement phase.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to that. I've talked to some coaches that are recently out of collegiate sports, and they echo those sentiments. I think it's felt just about everywhere. I know you've got a show to get to, so one more question here, Ryan. It's early, but what do we think is next for Alabama? Where do they look?
I think Alabama's in a position, think about where they were at when they hired Nick Saban. They were tough. Trying to find a job, somebody that would say yes. When they went big fish hunting with Nick Saban, it was a big risk, right, to go to Miami and try to convince him to come back in the Southeastern Conference. I won't pretend to know, but I just go back to Greg Byrne. His statement last night is, if you don't hear it from me, don't believe it. Don't believe it. He said, next time I talk to you publicly, will be announced to our new coach. If you don't hear it from me, don't believe it. I know Greg Byrne. They call him the ninja here for a reason, whether it's Nate Oates or I think he's going to go hunting big fish. if you asked me and you said, Ryan, you're Greg Burns, there's two names that I'd probably go after. And I think they're the safest guys that you could possibly get. And I think one of them is Dabo, and I think the other is Lane Kiffin. And I know a lot of people dislike Dabo. I get it. He's a very polarizing guy, but he's also won 2 national titles. And I think when you begin to look at the credibility that he would bring, recruiting, it fits up with Nick Saban. And I think Lane Kiffin is a brilliant, coach. I do know that Nick Saban is going to stay in the building. Now, does that make the job harder, or does it make it easier? Let that sink in for just a couple of minutes. He's staying in the building. That's weird, guys. That's a little, and I'm kind of mixed because you owe it to him to do what he wants to do. But how many, is that going to persuade other people to go a different direction because of that?
It's fascinating. It's going to be the story in college football over the next couple of weeks. Ryan, let's get away and get to your show. We really appreciate a few minutes today.
You're more than welcome anytime I can help. And, people in Baton Rouge, they owe Nick Saban a thank you because look at the facilities that he built, not just at you guys, but look around the SEC. He improved the facilities, not just here in Alabama, but other people had to build theirs. If not, they were going to get left behind. So we owe Nick Saban a debt of gratitude, not just in Tuscaloosa, but what he meant to the SEC in college football. You guys have an awesome day. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Ryan. That is Ryan Fowler from 100.9 in Tuscaloosa, host of the game with Ryan Fowler. He's on at 2 o'clock, so I wanted to let him get away. Ryan had a lot of interesting things to say there in terms of seeing things as someone in Tuscaloosa, what it means nationally. There's a lot to chew on, and he also brought up the fact that Nick Saban's going to stick around. We're going to take a time out. I'm going to close the hour out. I'm going to go through some of those names and how I feel about him as an LSU fan. And Nick Saban sticking around the building. I had some look, I was at that baseball banquet on Tuesday night, and Paul Maneri talked about Skip Bertman being in the building, and I'll give those thoughts coming up here as we close out hour number 1 from Rouse's 5909 Florida Boulevard. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ford F-150 lifted trucks. $10,000 off new Ford F-150 and 3.9% financing. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
His name was King. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ford F-150 lifted trucks. $10,000 off new Ford F-150 and 3.9% financing. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
There it is, the extra mile. on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is
Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Nick Saban retiring. What's next at Alabama and all of the fallout? We'll have it. Join us 3 to 6. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Thursday show is always brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets, and we are fired up to be here, 5909 Florida Boulevard, the grand opening. They cut the ribbon this morning. Well, Jacob and T-Bob were sitting right here at this table on the air. It was at 8 o'clock, and the first location here in North Baton Rouge. Rouse is so fired up to be a part of this community, and this grocery store is phenomenal. Just walk on in. It is so clean. It is stocked to the gills, and you got to get on by the bakery. Why? It's always a good time to be around the bakery, but this time of year it's especially good to be around the bakery because there are king cakes everywhere. You walk in the front door of this Rouse's on Florida Boulevard, there are no less than 105 king cakes sitting right out there, and they're all lined up with the flavors that you can identify and grab them. I love flavored king cakes personally. I know some people very traditional in that way. Just give me the cinnamon. I don't want any filling, no cream cheese, no strawberry, none of that. Just give me the normal, and that's great too. I kind of like the extra flavor. They got all the flavors here at Rouse's. Also got their famous Gentilly cakes, d'auberge cake, popcorn, and cotton candy. Can add a touch of fun. Bakery, fantastic spot. I told you a little bit earlier about that full-service butcher shop in the back as well. Get on by any Rouse's near you, but if you're here in North Baton Rouge and can get on by this Florida Boulevard location, you will not regret it. It is an awesome, awesome spot. Just had Ryan Fowler on. He is in Tuscaloosa, does afternoons 2 to 6. In Tuscaloosa for 100.9 the game, and I knew that the perspective would be very different from someone right there in Tuscaloosa, and it was. He hinted at, said it's not the full reason, but hinted at the fact that the new era of college football with paid free agency and the transfer portal back and forth and all the NIL requirements for every single player and re-recruiting your team are part of what drove Nick Saban out of the sport. And that may be true. It may not be true. But the fact of the matter is that is the situation now. And it's just going to be difficult for a lot of folks in college football to do things the way they've always done them. You'll just get left behind. You've got to change and got to adapt. I've started over the last 3 weeks, started to hear some things from business owners here in Baton Rouge about the way things work in the NIL world, and it's just it's constant because college athletes understand that they have a market. The door is open for them to capitalize on that, and for a lot of them, there's an expectation that that needs to happen. And if it doesn't, you can move on elsewhere and make it happen elsewhere. And certainly Nick Saban's aware of that, and anybody who takes the job at Alabama is aware of that. I don't know if that's what drove Nick Saban away or not, but you can call it a real problem or a wake-up call like Ryan did, or just accept that, hey, it's a reality. And in my opinion, as I laid out at the top of the show, Alabama's fan base is in for a rude awakening. I could be proven wrong. That's certainly a possibility. The next guy could come in and just keep it humming. Might win 4 national championships in the next 6 years. That is within the realm of possibility. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think that over a course of 17 years, most of that Alabama fan base has forgotten about Mike Shula and forgotten about Dennis Francione and the hiring of Mike Price and what Alabama was basically my entire adolescence. When I was an LSU fan in 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, Auburn was the game. Florida was the game. I remember vividly not even caring that we were playing Alabama my freshman year. It was the last year of Shula. They came in there, Jamarcus threw it all over the yard. It's Bama. Like, who's Bama? I wasn't around in the 70s when Bear was wrecking shop. It's not Alabama's birthright to be the best team in college football. Nick Saban makes you the best coach in college football. And the next guy that steps in my opinion, is not going to reach that standard. And so who is that? And we'll find out in the next couple of weeks. It'll be silly season. There are already reports that Dan Lanning was there interviewing for the job, and he's in Eugene, telling his team that he's staying around and he's using his recruiting pitch on social media. But Ryan Fowler mentioned 2 names in that segment, Lane Kiffin and Dabo Swinney. Lane Kiffin, I think, would have an opportunity to build a really tough program to beat in Alabama because he's a sensational play caller and has done very well with a lot of different quarterbacks in the SEC. He did well with Blake Sims and Jake Coker, certainly did well with Tua, and then he's done a good job with Matt Corral and now Jackson Dart in Oxford. And he, I think, would be a great offensive mind there. Is he an elite high school recruiter? That remains to be seen. He hadn't really done much of that at all in Oxford. It's been a lot of transfer portal. And to me, that's a difficult way to sustain a program. I think it's better to build through the high school ranks. But I think Lane Kiffin, I would say that's a quality hire. Dabo Swinney's name is being tossed about a lot. And I'll just say this. I've talked to Dabo Swinney exactly 0 times in my entire life. I don't know the man at all. I've never seen him in an office or at a practice. The only time I see Dabo Swinney is on a sideline or in a press conference. But he's reluctant to get involved in this NIL thing. Our program's made in the name, image, and likeness of Jesus Christ, which is a perfectly acceptable thing to say. But I just told you at the beginning of the segment, players want cash. Money. And if you're not on board with that, that's a big red flag. And he has said they don't want to get involved in the transfer thing. Now, don't hold me to this. All I can do is go 2-on-3 into the transfer tracker. So if this is a mistake, I'll own that. I was talking about Jordan Jefferson playing on LSU's defensive line last week. He announced to go to the transfer portal a week and a half ago, and I just whiffed on that. Sometimes you say stuff on live radio. It's not exactly true. But this I feel pretty good about because On3's LSU transfer tracker is correct. I'm looking at Clemson's transfer tracker for 2024, and I clicked the tab that says transfer in, and there's none. Not one. 0. If Dabo Swinney wants to come in to Tuscaloosa and follow Nick Saban and not get his players paid NIL money and not take any transfers in, he will be the head coach there for about 18 months. You think the expectations are out of control in Clemson and that in the press conference he says that there used to be an appreciation, now there's an expectation? Wait until you set foot in that pressure cooker where Nick Saban for 15 years straight did not lose 2 regular season games. You think you're in a pressure cooker now? Huh.
1.
You're in a hot tub now compared to a coal-fire pizza oven in Tuscaloosa. That would not work at all. And Ryan's correct in his assertion in that last segment that, hey, he's won 2 national championships. He's an Alabama guy. He's a good recruiter. All that might be true. The game has changed tenfold since he showed up and won those national championships in Clemson. If they hire Dabo Swinney, I'm going to be ecstatic because that ain't going to work. I don't know who's going to work or who they're going to hire, but Dabo, unless he changes his ways in a big way, in fact, if he says some of this stuff in an interview, they'll just say, you're out of here. That's it for hour number one here on this Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We are at Rouse's 5909 Florida Boulevard. It is their grand opening. Been here all day. Morning show. Matt will be here until 6 o'clock. Get on by if you're in the area. They have got a lot going on here. It is fantastic new facility here on Florida Boulevard. We got a busy hour number two to come. Matt McMahon, LSU head basketball coach, going to be with us coming up at the top of the hour. We'll talk to the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair, as well. Pelicans, LSU women's basketball. Tons and tons and tons to get to here on this Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. If you missed any of hour number one, catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Wherever you find your audio, you can certainly find us. We'll be back after Sports Center. You're listening to a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Brown, after 24 years, 17 division titles, 9 trips to the Super Bowl, and 6 championships, head coach Bill Belichick is leaving the New England Patriots.
For me, this is a day of gratitude and celebration. Start with Robert and his family. It's great so much thanks for the opportunity to be the head coach here for 24 years. It's an amazing opportunity. Received tremendous support.
Belichick thanking team owner Robert Kraft, saying it was a mutual decision, but also saying he hopes to coach somewhere else. There are 7 other NFL coaching vacancies. Steelers safety Minkah Fitzpatrick will play in Sunday's wildcard game against the Bills. He missed the last 3 weeks with a knee injury. Ohio State wideout Marvin Harrison Jr. will enter the NFL draft. He's ranked number 2 overall on Mel Kiper's big board. And ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski reports the NBA is planning for this year's June draft to be a 2-night event in Brooklyn.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Cannon. Coming on Friday, I'll tell you if it's fair or foul to question the future of the Chiefs dynasty. It's unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
WNXX, Jackson, KNXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers, LA 21-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, coming to you from Rouse's 5909 Florida Boulevard, the grand opening today. Let's head out to the Jim's Firearms Hotlines, where we find head coach for the LSU Tigers, Matt McMahon. Tigers 2-0 in conference play, headed to the Plains of Auburn for a Saturday tip-off. Coach, thanks so much for the time. How are you?
Hunt, doing well. Really appreciate you having me on today. About to hit the practice floor and get ready for the Auburn Tigers Saturday night.
2-0, good start in Southeastern Conference play, as good as you can do. What have you liked about the way your team has played, both in College Station and against Vanderbilt back on Tuesday?
I think the how it happened in College Station, the physicality, the toughness, the defense and rebounding is what I like the most about that one. I think the fact that our players over these last 5 games have really bought in to getting better. And the areas that were tremendous weaknesses for us through 10 games, defensive rebounding, defending the three-point shot, and taking care of the basketball to limit our turnovers, have not only gotten better, but have become strengths of our team over the last 5 games. So need that to continue, especially as you look at what Auburn brings to the table Saturday night.
When you think rebounding, you think front court play, but Jordan Wright had 10 in College Station. How important has he been on both sides of the floor for you as a veteran SEC player?
Well, huge. He had 15 rebounds in a game last year. He's a career 5 rebound a game guy. And so for us, we need all 5 crashing the glass defensively. But the flip of it on the offensive side, since that ridiculous second half that he had against Texas, he's just been so efficient offensively. Shooting percentages are way up. He's doing a great job getting to the free throw line and converting. And then I hadn't looked this week, but last time I checked, he was leading the SEC in steals. So he's really doing it at both ends of the floor.
You're 8th in the country in steals per possession on defense. Is that something you would have anticipated back in November?
In November, it was feast or famine. We either stole it or the other team scored. So it was good and bad. I like that we've been able to maintain that double-digit steal average, had 11 in the win over Vandy, while being a lot more disciplined on that side of the ball and defending the three-point shot better as well. So want that to continue to be a strength. I think we're also one of the top teams in the country in points scored off turnovers. So it's allowed us, obviously, to limit the other team, but it's led to some easy baskets for us in transition as well.
Jalen Cook showed up at the Texas game, and since he's been inserted in the lineup, y'all are 4-1. What has he brought since he's been deemed eligible?
Yeah, it's made the game a lot easier for us. It's a guy who can help you space the floor. You can play and ball screen offense. It's enabled us to play a lot faster, more to the tempo I prefer to play. And I think it's also made the job easier for some of our other guys. Through 10 games without Jalen, we were having to ask our forwards to try and make too many plays, and that was leading to turnovers. I think it's made the game a lot simpler for Jordan Wright, and it's opened up some three-point opportunities for other players. Now, with that said, one thing I am excited to be 2-0 in the league. You know, we're 2-0, but we're shooting 23% from three. I mean, we're 9 of 40 from three in the 2 games, and so that has to improve because we're a much better shooting team than that.
I want to ask about morale of your team after a 2-0 start in league play. It's got to be easier to get up and go to practice and go to the gym when you're on a roll here.
I think so. I think, Hunt, you start to get confidence from it. Hopefully you see the belief. And, you know, we also you hope it leads to continued improvement because the way the schedule fell this year was kind of unique. We had a lot of practice time over the Christmas break, more than I can ever remember, the way the games were spaced out. And I think our guys really took advantage of that time, bought into the areas we needed to get better at, and now they're getting to see the results come from all the hard work they've put in. So obviously it's early and a long way to go, but I do want our players taking confidence from that, seeing that their hard work is leading to improved performance on the court and obviously improved results.
When I say a Bruce Pearl team, what do you think of?
Hard-playing dudes, great energy. You know, I've been studying, trying to find the weakness, and they don't have one. They have a top 10 offense, top 10 defense in the country. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. We're fortunate to play in some great games in that venue. I think it's one of the top 2 or 3 atmospheres in all of college basketball. And, you know, you have to be really well prepared. I think the other thing when you think of a Bruce Pearl team is the value of special teams. They force a ton of turnovers on your out-of-bounds situations. It was critical in the A&M game on Tuesday. A&M had 8 turnovers in the last 8 minutes of the game and what was a tie game at that point. And then their ability to execute on out-of-bounds, side out-of-bounds and out-of-bounds under plays. I think they're the best in the country at the special teams, so you have to really be locked in there.
Last one here, Coach. We'll let you get to practice, but your team is old, and you mentioned wanting to be old year after year. Jalen Cook, Jordan Wright, Will Baker, you know, obviously Trey Hannibal. Does that give you confidence going into what might be the toughest place to play in the league right now?
Yeah, I hope so. And quite a few of those guys you mentioned have already played in there before. But, you know, we're older, but also a bunch of new faces playing together for the first time, so it's taken some time. And our season really started over December 16th when Cook got eligible. But I really like the direction we're going. And so now we need to, you know, lace them up, have 2 good days of preparation, and go in there locked in and ready to go. What'll be a fun environment Saturday night.
We'll let you get to it. Congrats on a great start, and y'all go get them on Saturday, Coach.
All right, Hunt. Thanks so much. Appreciate you having me.
He's Matt McMahon, head coach of the LSU Tigers basketball squad, 2-0 in league play. I was so impressed with what they did going to College Station and controlling the backboards the way that they did. I mentioned when we came back on Monday that, hey, A&M shot it really poorly that day. And sometimes over the course of 18 league games, your opponent's going to have a really rough shooting night. You don't have to apologize for that. You clean up the glass, you take care of what you have to do, and you get out of there with a win, and they did that. And then, as he mentioned, they came home and played Vanderbilt, who's, I think, the worst team in the league, in my opinion. But LSU didn't shoot it very well that night and still did enough to keep it Vanderbilt at arm's length and win the game. You should win that game at home against Vanderbilt, but as I laid out Tuesday on the show before the game, like, this team's not really in a spot to just say, yeah, chalk that one in as a win. Got to get it, and they went and got it. And I also said on Wednesday, when we broke down the Vanderbilt game, that things get a lot more dicey on Saturday. I always go back to the discussion I had with Andre Stringer when I was covering the team day to day. If you remember Andre Stringer, the small guard from Jackson, Mississippi, who was on those Trent Johnson teams. And we were talking about the toughest places to play in the SEC. And they were about to go to Rupp to play, and I asked him about it. And he said, Rupp is really cool to play in. It's really big. It's full, and it's Kentucky, but in terms of, like, the environment, it's not even close. Arkansas and Florida blow it away in terms of the intimidation factor. And when Andre was talking to me that day, like, Auburn was a doormat. So Auburn Arena, I don't even think was even built yet, and they were in probably the Tony Barbie era, and they sucked, quite frankly. And so that would not have been anywhere close to the list. But if you start to listen to SEC coaches, SEC players, and I don't cover them day to day anymore, but I heard Buzz Williams after A&M went in there and got beat on Tuesday night say that's everything college basketball needs to be. And Auburn made it a point to build that arena small enough to where the little town of Auburn could fill it. This is something that, like, I don't think a lot of people necessarily think about. Maybe if you've never been to some of the places in the SEC. Like, Baton Rouge is a city. Gainesville, Florida, Columbia, South Carolina, Knoxville, Tennessee, those are cities. You can fill a 10,000-seat baseball or basketball arena or ballpark on a Tuesday. Nobody lives in Auburn, Alabama. Nobody lives in Oxford, Mississippi. Nobody lives in Athens, Georgia. These are college towns. So on a random Tuesday night, like, it's just hard to get that many people to come in to the game. So Auburn's like, well, one, we're not that great at basketball right now, and two, small town, we're going to build this thing so we can fill it. And they do. And they could probably fill it now that they're a top 20 team in the country and they're really good and Bruce Pearl's got them all fired up. But it's so small and intimate that it's on top of you. And when they fill it, it's really tough. And LSU has had some really, really good teams that have gone into Auburn and run into a buzzsaw. And we've seen that. And so LSU's got to get to work, and they're going to have to play really, really good. I'll tell you this. Man said they're shooting about 23% from three in SEC play for 2 games. They shoot 23% against Auburn on Saturday. It's going to be a long evening on the Plains. So hopefully they can lock it in, make some shots. As I mentioned there, they're old. I don't think Jalen Cook, who's 4th, 5th-year guy, Trey Hannibal, 5th-year guy, Will Baker, 5th-year guy, Jordan Wright, been in the SEC for 4 years. Like, I don't think they're going to be petrified when they walk in there. It's just a matter of you got to execute, you got to play well. And so we'll talk about that game coming up tomorrow. We'll actually talk about it a little bit more with Chris Blair. He's the voice of the Tigers, and he joins us next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
It doesn't matter what you need. All changes, tune-ups, alignments, battery service, belts and hoses, brake repair. They are professionals. 7A to 6P Monday through Friday. They'll work with you. Call up, set up an appointment. They'll do it all besides a transmission. Hunt's Tire Pros and Car Care.
Cut through the static and listen to 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge in high definition. Simply tune to 98.1 and select HD2.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
121-1674. Offices in Baton Rouge.
Thursday on Off the Benches. They are on remote at the new Rouse's at Florida Boulevard. Jake and T-Bob will be out there. We'll have our normal Munchie segment with Chef Michael Johnson. We'll continue with the latest of LSU football and the New Orleans Saints. Tune in 7 to 10 a.m. here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The Hunt Palmer Show. This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
We're here at Rouse's, 5909 Florida Boulevard, the grand opening here at the Rouse's on Florida. First location here in North Baton Rouge. Rouse is fired up to be part of this community. Look, the deli here is a huge highlight. They've got hot breakfast, lunch, and dinner options. They've got a Mongolian grill, and I believe Matt Moscona is sampling some of that Mongolian grill right now about 10 feet from me. They got stir fries, grab-and-go meals, and, of course, they've got sushi prepared right here in store at Rouse's. So come on by if you are in the area. Let's head back out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, with us every single Thursday. Chris, how are you?
I'm great, hon. I assume today we're only talking basketball. Nothing going on in the football world, huh?
There's a little bit going on in the football world. I deviated from Saban to go Saints for about 10 minutes in the first hour, and everybody went nuts. So, yeah, there's plenty to talk about. I mean, you got a reaction? Where were you when you saw the news, and what did you think when I think everyone is unanimously going to suggest he's the greatest of all time, has decided to step away?
Yeah, I mean, he certainly is. There's no doubt about that. But I'll be honest with you. I was in the office yesterday and just happened to refresh my X feed, as they call it these days, and I see the Chris Lowe tweet, and I think, okay, so surprised but not shocked. And I've got some receipts on this from some colleagues. I have some pretty good friends that work in and around Alabama athletics, and that was kind of what they were talking about October, November, and even into early December, that they thought this was going to be the year. And like everybody else, I thought, yeah, I'm not buying it until I see it. But apparently some of those rumors that were around this fall were true. And, a lot of it was because they said there was just a different feeling, different attitude, and they really took it as maybe he was dropping some hints, maybe subconsciously. So, again, surprised that it actually happened, but not shocked, because that's kind of what they've been talking about for a while.
You're around coaches a lot, and I know that Jay Johnson references Nick Saban in the way he goes about things a good bit. There are still people that work in the department where you work every day that were here when Nick Saban was here. I mean, when you talk to people that have been around him, or you talk to coaches that see what he's done from afar, I mean, what impressions do you gather from Nick Saban's career as a head coach?
Well, there's some great stories on campus, as I'm sure a lot of fans know from those who worked with Coach Saban. I get a great perspective from Coach John Brady, because he was here coaching men's basketball at the time. And, again, we go to Tuscaloosa every year, and there's been a couple of games where Coach Saban has been there, and he comes over and talks to John.
But they always kind of give the same thing, which was he was demanding to work for, but you couldn't argue with the results. And I think from coaches, you mentioned Jay Johnson, I just think, he kind of coined the phrase, the process. And, coaches have been doing it for years, but really I think, Coach Saban kind of defined that, or at least defined what his process was. And now I think every coach, takes that and it's a way to organize how you want your program to be from top to bottom. And, I think when you look at successful athletic departments, you look at successful teams, most all of those coaches, whether they reference him directly or not, what they say sounds a lot like what Nick has been saying since he was here at LSU many years ago. So there's no doubt he's had a major impact, not only on the sport, not only on football, but I think in college athletics as a whole.
Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, joining us as he does each and every Thursday. Coach's show last night. Coach McMahon's team is 2-0. I'd imagine vibes pretty good at TJ Ribs last night?
Yeah, we had a good time last night. We had a good crowd. The Tigers love a winner, and as you said, they're off to a 2-0 start. But I think those who watched the game at Texas A&M and those that were at the PMAC on Tuesday, for anybody who maybe watched this team earlier, the first 10 games of the year, it's a different-looking team. And not only just because of the turnovers coming down and forcing turnovers are going up, the rebounding has gotten better. They're forcing at least the last two teams to attempt a ton of threes, not what either Vanderbilt or Texas A&M is really good at. But they were able to impose their will defensively. But I just think the confidence level, the hustle, guys diving on the floor, going for loose balls. It looks like a different team. And, John Brady said on the radio Tuesday night, you can break it down a lot of different ways statistically, but a lot of it has to do with some confidence this team is building, and that can go a long way, especially in college basketball.
How big a deal is Jalen Cook? It's the obvious question.
Yeah, he's big. I just think he's kind of elevated everybody's game, and I think he's taken the pressure off, especially the guys in the backcourt. Mike Williams is going to be a great talent here at LSU, and he's already been Freshman of the Week, 2 weeks ago. But, the first 10 games of the year, it's like, hey, guys, I'm Mike Williams. I'm a freshman. I'm going to acclimate to college life. I'm going to acclimate to the speed of Division I basketball. And, oh, by the way, I'm going to run the offense.
Yeah.
And I thought at times he did a very good job, but there were times where he looked like a true freshman. Now I think he doesn't have all that pressure that Jalen is there. He can be the straw, and Mike's offense has gotten a little bit of an uptick there. I think Jordan Wright may be the best beneficiary of what Jalen Cook brings. They seem to have a real good rhythm and connectiveness out on the floor, and you've seen him, even though he's been consistent all year, Hunt, you've seen Jordan's game kind of go up and up and up. He had the huge double-double against Texas A&M, and I just think the effort is there, and it's kind of like they enjoy playing ball now, and they can concentrate on what they do best. The biggest thing to me in the Texas A&M win was every player that touched the floor, whether they scored double digits, whether they had one basket or two baskets, they all had big moments where they had to make a play, and they did it. And I think that is epitomized and illustrated best by Hunter Dean. He got no points Tuesday night against Vanderbilt, but he had 5 huge rebounds, including that offensive rebound that got out to Tyrell Ward for the three-pointer that I think really crushed the soul of Vanderbilt. So I just think Jalen has, what do they say, rising seas raises all ships. I don't know, I butchered it, but you know what I mean. I think his success, his confidence, his skill set has made everybody else around him better. And, I hate it's sometimes hyperbole to say one guy's makes that kind of difference, but in college basketball, that happens, and it happens across the country. And it just so happens it's going on right now at LSU.
I think we're looking for rising tides raise all boats. Is that
there it
that
is.
sound?
I don't like saying tide. Every time I say tide, somebody jumps on me. So I try to avoid that.
We will avoid that. Don't say it where you're going on Saturday either. You might be in some trouble. Look, Matt McMahon was just on with us and talked about the fact that they're only shooting 25% from three. He said, I like the fact that we're 2-0. We just got to shoot it a lot better. I would suggest they probably need to shoot it a lot better on Saturday against a really good Auburn team.
Yeah, that was one of the things he voiced last night was, he was super pleased with their defensive effort, their rebounding effort. They really put 2 back-to-back games against good competition now, probably their best defensive effort. They were down 2 at Texas A&M. They kept A&M off the glass, but LSU missed some point-blank shots at the rim inside the paint. They missed some open inside-out threes. And you could make a similar case although maybe the shot selection I think was better in the second half Tuesday, they still had some open looks that just didn't fall. And now you're going to step up in competition against Auburn that statistically top 10 defensively, top 10 offensively. They block shots. I think they're either top 3 or maybe even tops in the country at block shots. And then that place is an absolute just pressure cooker. And, they're not a great shooting team in Auburn, but they're streaky. And when they get it going, I mean, they just start to fall like nobody's business. And that place gets turned on 11. So if you don't bring an offensive game over there, next thing you know, you could look up over a 5-minute span and be down 15 points.
Where would you rank this place in terms of the environments in the SEC when their teams are good? You've seen them all now.
Yeah, I think it's tops. I mean, all my buddies I grew up with in Kentucky, they always give me a hard time. Oh, blah, blah. I said, look, Rupp Arena is a great building. It's got great tradition, great history. But, frankly, the lower section of that arena is a snooze fest.
Yep.
And Auburn is right on top of you. Plus, it's so cavernous at Rupp Arena. It's just a big place. And I hate to admit it, but up in Fayetteville, when Bud Walton's rocking, it's tough. But night in, night out, man, Neville Arena is, John and I have them sitting right on top of us. One of the first times John went over there, I love to tell this story. First year John did the games with me, I said, Coach, by the way, when we go to Auburn, just know they're going to be on top of you. And he goes, those students don't know who John Brady is. I'm a dinosaur. I said, they got Google, Coach, and they'll figure it out. And they did about 3 minutes into the first half. So they get on to everybody over there. So, again, if you can just kind of hold your own and avoid those big runs that Bruce Pearl and Auburn are known for, you can make it a game and give yourself a chance.
I saw Doug Thompson on Tuesday night. He said he's ready to see you up in the booth. You ready for him?
Yeah, man. We had our baseball preseason meeting on Monday, and everybody was reminded. I think now we're, 36 days away from first pitch?
I'm definitely not counting. You know me. I have no idea.
They mentioned that it was 39 days from first pitch. 38 days on Tuesday. That's when it was. And it was like, oh, man, here we are. We are here. And had a chance to talk with Jay on our podcast on Tuesday. And the guy's just a machine, man. Not that we didn't already know that, but, he looked at us point blank and just said, guys, I don't do anything but baseball. And I said, I know that. 100%, 24/7, 365. These stores may close on Christmas, but I guarantee you on Christmas Day, Jay Johnson's trying to come up with getting better at LSU.
Well, Chris, enjoy your trip to the loveliest little village on the plains, and we'll talk next week.
You got to take care.
He is Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers. Matt McMahon Show over at 2J Ribs every single week. Got a couple podcasts over there on LSUsports.net. You can hear him every single ball game when LSU plays, coming up on Saturday. LSU takes on Auburn on the hardwood. We're here at 5909 Florida Boulevard, New Rouse's location. Fired up to be here. If you're in the neighborhood, come on by and see us. Got all the groceries you could need, all the king cakes you could need this carnival season. I'm telling you, walk in the front door. I think there's 100 king cakes sitting right there ready for the taking. They got all your flavors all labeled. If you want the traditional, go for it. If you want the cream filling, go for that as well. Go get both. Get 4 of them. It's carnival season. We love king cakes. There's 3 in my house right now, so I'm going to get back to those a little bit later. We'll come back a little bit more to the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Elevate brand visibility, ignite customer engagement with the power of radio and digital advertising combined. Guarantee Digital Media brings the two together as a trusted media partner in Louisiana for nearly a century. Claim your free digital audit at guaranteemedia.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
His name was Cain. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
Valid 1/4 through 1/24. Selection varies by location while supplies last. See Lowe's.com for details.
We're going abroad for the first time in years. To Spain. So we started using Babbel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babbel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks.
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish. Gracias, Babbel.
Babbel, language for life. Start learning a new language today at Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
Henniger join us for the Friday edition of Live at Lunch from Ruffino's on Highland Road. Bruce Marshall will be with us, Troy Macker from Bet Rivers, and we get you set for the weekend. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Friday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Our Thursday show is always brought to you by Rouse. It's a special Thursday edition here as we are at the grand opening of the new Florida Boulevard location, 5909 Florida Boulevard here in North Baton Rouge, the first Rouse's location here in North Baton Rouge. It's our pleasure to be here and our pleasure to be joined by Rouse's CEO, Donnie Rouse. Donnie, thanks so much for your time. How are we doing?
Thank you. We're doing great today. Great turnout. For
We're
sure.
doing it. Really is. I was listening to Jacob and T-Bob, who were here starting at 7 o'clock before the store even opened, and they said the line was around the corner. Y'all cut the ribbon at 8 o'clock, and I was telling you off air, I got here at like noon, and it was just packed in here. Is every opening like this?
Very similar. This is one of our better ones. We had one back in September in Homa, and it was very good as well. But this store, we had more customers wrapped around the building here ready to see what we had to offer the community.
Yeah, you mentioned community, and that's something I know that is so important to y'all. And this is the first location in North Baton Rouge. Why North Baton Rouge?
There was nobody else here.
Yeah.
And we saw a need to serve the community, so these citizens did not have to drive far to get to a good grocery store, and it's just food desert, and we need to be here to help out. And once we're here, we're going to see this whole corridor get revitalized and get into economic development and help out.
This is such an impressive facility here, and obviously people have taken notice because they're here in droves today. You mentioned community, and I know local is something that's so important to y'all. You've grown, and you've grown, and you've grown in locations all over South Louisiana, but how important is community to you all at Rouse's?
I mean, that's big. That's what local in the community is our culture. Starting back to my great-grandfather in the produce business, we still have those roots with us and taking care of our farmers and selling the local produce, and that goes into the local seafood. That goes into the local companies that may have their own seasoning mix or spice mix or cheesecake. And, that's something that you won't just find in one Rouse's. You'll see it across the board to where as we grow, the local companies are growing as well.
How many locations are we up to now?
65 stores now.
65 Rouse's stores, and we're out every single Friday at Burbank and Lee. We're thrilled to be here today. I'm looking at the king cake selection up there. Y'all aren't going to run out of king cakes, I don't think.
No, we have plenty king cakes here for sure.
Carnival season.
They're stacked up, and they're selling fast, but we have plenty of inventory. We're ready for it.
Are you a flavored cheesecake guy or just a traditional?
So typically I'm buying traditional.
Okay.
Every now and then I'll venture off into a flavor, but when I do buy a flavor, I'm buying a traditional as well.
Okay. What I said before. I was like, just get 2 or 3. There's literally 3 at my house right now. My wife may have a bit of an issue with king cakes. Y'all obviously are such a great partner of ours here at Guarantee, and we so much appreciate that. We host our pregame show before LSU football games here, and then you're obviously the official supermarket of New Orleans Saints. Why aligning with sports? Why is that important with Rouse's?
It's fun, and we're a big sports market here in South Louisiana. Yeah. And it's, like the New Orleans Saints, they're a great organization. We've been a partner of theirs for quite some time, and everybody's watching the Saints or listening to the Saints on the radio. And it was just a good fit for us to be associated with Gail Benson and her organization.
What's your go-to Super Bowl spread if you're watching the game?
I have no idea.
You got a whole grocery store here with your name on it. I figured you could find something.
I focus on selling groceries.
We all do that exceptionally well. We're thrilled to be here. Appreciate you all so much for having us, and I'll let you get back to work. It's quite a scene in here.
All right. Well, thank you all for coming out today, and appreciate the partnership.
Absolutely. Sure. That's Donnie Rouse, CEO here of Rouse's Markets. We're here at 5909 Florida Boulevard in North Baton Rouge, and thrilled to be here. Look, check out the deli here at Rouse's. They're offering hot breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They've got a Mongolian grill that's got stir-fry, grab-and-go meals. Of course, they've got sushi. Michelle, one of our reps that was here earlier today, had a nice plate of sushi that's made right here in-house at Rouse's on Florida Boulevard. So if you're in the area, new location just opened just hours ago. Appreciate you coming on by, and we've had a blast being here all day. Matt's going to continue the party here from Rouse's. If you're coming, come on in and take a right. We're right here near the Mongolian Grill, near the bakery on the right side of the store, and we'll be posted up here until 6 o'clock when Matt is done with his show. It's been a fun show, a busy show here, talking a lot of Nick Saban, a lot of LSU basketball. And I want to go back to the conversation that I had with Ryan Fowler. I know that audience is going to turn over the course of an hour and kind of revisit some of the things that he said in the perspective from Tuscaloosa, because I think most people in Baton Rouge feel the same way as those of us who host these shows feel. We understand what Nick Saban did when he got to Baton Rouge. We understand where the program was and where it's ascended and why that started. We understand how big a thorn in LSU's side Nick Saban has been over the last 17 years. And we understand he's the greatest coach who has ever coached in college, that he did a great thing here at LSU, and that things were not so great over the next 17 years. It took a couple of Heisman winners to beat him over the last 9. And so that's just going to be the echo of just about everyone. You may get a difference in opinion if you're going to give Nick Saban a standing ovation if they have the 25-year anniversary of the 03 team coming up here, and I guess that would be 4 years. Yeah, 4 years. Some people will say, I don't like Saban. Some people say, oh, thank you. Maybe you get a little bit of differing opinion on that, but the nuts and bolts of it are going to be the same for just about everybody. Now, Ryan Fowler, who came on in the first hour, had a totally different mentality about it. He would suggest that the state of college football is not in a good place, and that's what drove Nick Saban out of town, and that's why it's a wake-up call for the sport. He would suggest that nobody really knew that this was, in fact, going to happen, and Nick Saban made it at the 11th hour, right before he announced it to the team. And then he gave a couple of names of coaches that Alabama may look to. And as you start to survey the landscape of college football and who Alabama could hire, I mean, Dan Lanning's taken himself off the list. Kirby Smart's not leaving his alma mater to go coach and follow Nick Saban when he's got the machine running in Athens. I think Lane Kiffin would pick up the phone in 2 seconds and take that job. And, I think that the other thought is Dabo. Now, there are other coaches and there are other places that Alabama could go. But I have two very differing opinions on Dabo Swinney and Lane Kiffin. I think that Lane Kiffin embraces what it takes now, and you see that with what he's done in the transfer portal and getting that collective up and running in Oxford. I think you can run a collective in Oxford. You can probably handle it in Tuscaloosa. There's more chefs in the kitchen in Tuscaloosa. There's also more ingredients, in the quote-unquote grocery store to get it done in Tuscaloosa. He'd have to do a better job of recruiting at the high school level. I'm floored refreshing this Clemson Tigers football transfer portal on 3 and understanding that they have not taken a single transfer this year. And I hear Dabo Swinney's comments. And there was a time where I thought Dabo would never leave Clemson to go to Alabama. That time was when he was competing for and winning national championships. Why would you leave a place where you're the man to go follow the man? Like, I didn't understand that. Now, with as disenchanted as he seems to be with the Clemson fan base, and the press conferences support that, I think that makes him more open to look at his alma mater to go be the coach there. I also think he would do a terrible job. I don't even think I'm being hyperbolic. I think, and I don't think I'm being a shock jock or fishing for clicks. I think if Dabo Swinney wants to enter Tuscaloosa with no intention of taking transfers and no intention of facilitating name, image, and likeness deals for his players, he will run that program into the ground. I don't know another way to say it. So those are the two names you're hearing right now. And Greg Byrne is suggesting, hey, if you don't hear it from me, then you don't believe it. Well, that's not how coaching searches work. We got to get the reporters got to get their tweeting thumbs ready, and you got to be posting stuff on the hot boards, on your message boards, and people have got to do something to create noise and create buzz and create news. So it's not going to be radio silent, but maybe he can do what Scott Woodward did 2 years ago, and everybody's off the scent. It's Lincoln Riley, it's Mel Tucker, it's boom, Brian Kelly's name pops up. Hadn't been discussed. Maybe Greg Byrne can do that in Tuscaloosa. It remains to be seen. What I do know is that they haven't done this since 2006 into 2007. We've watched everybody else go through all these gymnastics, trying to decipher sources and tweets and message boards and newscasts and blogs and YouTube videos and whatever the case may be. Everybody else has done this. Multiple times, maybe all multiple times. Is there anybody that hasn't done this multiple times? Maybe Kentucky? I don't know. Stoops has been there a while. Everybody's done this. Alabama hasn't. And it's going to be fascinating to watch this carousel spin. Maybe it's quick. Maybe it's not. If Nick really did come to this conclusion 24 hours ago, they may need some time. If he came to this conclusion Thanksgiving, it may be pretty quick. I don't know who to believe there, because Ryan Fowler's saying, I think this was decided on yesterday, and there are plenty of people that would suggest that these rumors were swirling before Halloween. So this is now the biggest story in college football. It's a massive, massive deal to the entire landscape of the sport as we enter a bigger SEC with no divisions and a bigger playoff. And the one true constant of the last 17 years in the sport most of you listening love the most has been unseated. And now it's not a constant. It's a monster variable. So what is it? I laid out all my thoughts on that in the first segment. If you want to go back and listen to it, you can on demand, 1045ESPN.com, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound, you can find that open, or you can find it on YouTube. Just scroll back to the front. I gave my thoughts on it, and my thoughts are that it's likely, in my opinion, not guaranteed, likely that Alabama's program backs up a few pegs. And I laid out examples throughout sports that would indicate that's very likely. I also gave you some that, hey, it worked out. It's fascinating for sure, and I'm curious to watch this wheel of information roll, and we'll see how long Greg Byrne takes. It's weird timing-wise because most of these searches go on in December. That timeline has moved from around Christmas into January to December and closer to Thanksgiving. And now the transfer portal matters to all that, and you've got Alabama commitments decommitting and the transfer portal opening back up, and we'll see what it means for assistant coaches that may be on the move. LSU's potentially in the market for an offensive coordinator, and a guy that was an offensive coordinator for Brian Kelly maybe looking for a job. That's Tommy Rees, who was Alabama's offensive coordinator this past year. So lots of different angles to take from this thing, and we'll certainly dive into more of them coming up on tomorrow's show. We're out here at Rouse's 5909 Florida Boulevard. One more segment from me. It'll be Take It or Leave It on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. Neil and Melissa Boudreaux been operating Boudreaux's Electric for 40 years. They're a certified Generac generator dealer. They are a premier Generac generator dealer. Look, protect yourself from power outages. They're so inconvenient. They happen all the time down here. Not so often with ice storms, but we know that those summer afternoon showers can get nasty and hurricanes can get nastier. Whether it's an hour and a half with no power, a day with no power, a week with no power, you can prevent it with a Generac generator from Boudreaux's Electric. And every single generator that Boudreaux's Electric sells you comes with a free 10-year warranty. A free 10-year warranty. They'll customize that generator to your exact needs, but you're going to have to call them first. It's Boudreaux's Electric. Boudreaux's Electric.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Hey, look what I found!
The motivation I needed to live healthier.
My new favorite sport.
I found my groove. I found I'm part fish.
My second win when I needed it most.
I found more than a gym.
The affordable childcare this mom needed. Time for myself. We found our why.
Have you found yours?
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, party plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
It was a humid day. Barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
next weekend for wall-to-wall football as we have all 6 playoff games. We start off Saturday afternoon with Browns-Texans, then all day Sunday before wrapping things up Monday night with Eagles-Buccaneers. Catch all of those games right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Man, what a fun day here at Rouse's. The first North Baton Rouge location, 5909 Florida Boulevard, opened its doors this morning at 8 o'clock, and it has been an awesome day here. The guys at OTB were here this morning, and it's been a fun 2 hours here. Look, this is going to be a dedicated team of 200 employees at this location to serve North Baton Rouge, and Rouse's is so excited to be a part of this community here. Come on by. Full-service bakery's got everything. It's Mardi Gras season, as you know. King cakes, you can smell them right when you walk in the door, and there are a lot of them available here at this Rouse's location. They've also got their famous Gentilly cakes, Dauberge cakes, lots and lots more. Full-service butcher shop, dry-aged beef, choice Angus beef aged on site, their own specialty meats and boudin, lots and lots to get to at Rouse's. So we appreciate Rouse's every Thursday for bringing you our Thursday shows, but certainly this one has been a lot of fun. All right, Jacob Beck, how about some take it or leave it?
All right, we get the first one here. It's going to be according to The Athletic. Reporting ESPN was fabricating names of on-air personalities to secure Emmy Awards for over a decade. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, I read this story. It really sounds very bad. It actually isn't that bad, in my opinion. What was happening for ESPN is if you are a host on a television show, you don't get an Emmy if that show wins an Emmy. You only get the Emmy if you're voted like best host, best personality, this or that. So what ESPN was doing is it was manufacturing fake names using the correct initials of the game day crew. Like Chris Fowler was Carl Fulton, and like they were making up all these names so that they would get the actual trophies, and then they were engraving them and giving these hosts Emmys, saying that they had won them if the show won the Emmy, not necessarily the host. So is it dishonest? Yes. Are they giving Emmys to hosts that did not win them for that specific category? Yes, but the shows were Emmy-worthy, and the crews were getting Emmys. They wanted to give the personalities Emmys, so they made up some names. It sounds really bad. Did it take Emmys away from anybody else? It did not. Did it maybe inflate the egos of some of the on-air talent, which was the point of it? Maybe, but I'll take it.
All right, next one here. Oregon coach Dan Lanning rebuffed rumors of him potentially succeeding Nick Saban at Alabama, as we talked about earlier, saying on social media, if you're scared your coach is leaving, then come play for us. The Ducks aren't going anywhere, and I'm not leaving. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. You got to take every opportunity this day and age to create energy, to create buzz, to create clicks, and to recruit. And Dan Lanning is in a really good spot at Oregon. You've got a mountain of Mikey money behind you. You've got a brand that's pretty hot in college football, and you're going to a conference that's going to pay you a lot of money. So is the Alabama job better than the Oregon job in terms of access to a national championship? I would suggest yes. Is the Oregon job better than the Alabama job in terms of staying employed and relevant towards the top of the sport? I would say yes. I think Dan Lanning could be a great head coach at Alabama, but he's not going to take that chance. He's going to be there at Eugene for at least the foreseeable future.
All right, we got just one more here. Got about a minute left. Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers announced he will be returning for his senior season. Arch Manning will be on the move soon. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it. Look, Arch is not going to be on the move because he needs NIL money. I think that family, I always say this about coaches, kids, I think they're generally a little bit more grounded, and I think that family, where he comes from, probably grounds him a little bit more. It can't be totally unexpected that Quinn Ewers is back. And look, Arch has only played once. I only had 1 year, and he can redshirt. So you're talking about a guy who's got plenty of time in front of him. So that's a good spot there for Arch. I think he'll stick around. All right, that'll do it for us here at Rouse's on Florida Boulevard. Been a lot of fun out here. Our Friday show tomorrow brought to you by Chorus. We'll get you ready for LSU and Auburn on the hardwood.
30.
Matt's going to be with you for the next 3 hours on After Further Review here from Rouse's. Again, invite you to come on by. I keep giving you all the awesome features they've got here at this Rouse's. They've got full-service butcher shop. They've got Boar's Head deli meats and cheese at the store. That's been a quality addition rolling out across the entire company. Rouse is a great partner here of our Thursday shows and here at Guarantee Media, and we're thrilled to be out here. So come on by if you're in the neighborhood. Matt's next on After Further Review. We'll see you tomorrow on the.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.